Hello and most welcome to 1953 of the series. We will today continue with A Tale of Two Problems. Wittgenstein's discussion of aspect perception by Severin Schroeder. Schroeder, where are you? Are you there, Schroeder? Have you seen him? It's partly inspired by Mulholland's seeing aspects. Come to think about seeing ghosts. Welcome, Mirja.
Welcome, and thank you for welcoming me. I'm in the train again,
Okay.
but I will be following. Thanks.
Still on the train. Oh, a long train. Mr. Severin Schroeder. Last time we talked about the experience of meaning has no content. It is nothing inside that could reflect meaning, or there is nothing inside that can reflect perception or be reception. Perception, sorry. The insideness of ourselves is an illusion that makes many things. One thing it makes is that we believe science in the Saussurean sense needs to be empty to be able to refer. Wittgenstein and Severin are not of that inclination. Actually, a fullness or an emptiness in that sense of the sign, that the sign cannot be 100% the thing that it signifies, impairs the whole thing. It's a bit like the Trinity. Jesus, the Holy Ghost, and God are all 100% individuals, but yet 100% the Trinity. Something that has been very hard to accept for anyone with an ordinary non-quantum logic. But this is Wittgenstein. It's quite different. There need not be any either or here. I would say an either or here. Here situated would be an impairment. It would demise or diminish the possibility for reality. Words can only mean in their fullness when a word is 100% what it signifies by itself. Words are not arbitrary. It's a disgrace to think that. Maybe exaggerating. It's late, but I think it's very far from reality. They signify, or they connect, or they are like the thing they are. They are the same. The word table is a table. It's nonsensical to say that that's the word table, and then we have the actual table. Like the table will be disjunct from our knowledge of it. And the table could still be there, even if there were no human beings there. It's getting back to discussion in quantum mechanics. Does the moon exist if nobody sees it? And no is the resounding answer from quantum mechanics. If nobody sees it, there's no indications or criterion of it whatsoever. It is not there. There is no existence apart from our criterions or our experiences of it. Bit of an exaggeration to call that an observer-dependent reality. But still, there you are. And we also went through the specific didactics of Wittgenstein. And that is about where you put one weird thing, you get used to it, and it becomes normal. And then you can add another weird thing, and you slowly open up your vision. Thereby, you relax and you get a peace of mind. And actually, you can become yourself. You become more of yourself once you relax those fixations. We will continue on page 365. And we are at the second paragraph, beginning aptly with Wittgenstein. Wittgenstein's next move was to inquire after the importance and role in our lives of the kind of experience he found puzzling. 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 The importance an experience has in our lives can be thrown into relief by considering the imaginary case of people lacking that experience. Thus, Wittgenstein introduces the idea of a meaning blind person, somebody who understands the meaning of words and is also able to use homonyms according to their different meanings, but never has the experience of hearing a word in isolation as having one meaning or the other, the other. Or another, sorry, or another. The question is, what would someone be missing if he did not experience the meaning of a word? Of a word, word. Would this be a serious handicap? And again, in the analogous case of aspect perception, could there be human beings lacking the ability to see something as something? And what would that be like? What sort of consequences would it have? Would it have? Would it have? Would this defect be comparable to color blindness or to not having absolute pitch Pitch, pitch. We will call it aspect blindness, and will now consider what might be meant by this. It is a conceptual investigation. Investigation is an experience of aspect perception, perhaps not only conditioned by certain abilities, but also a condition for certain abilities. A condition. Abilities, abilities, abilities. Something I heard today. Antithesis. Antithesis. Does one, under certain circumstances, need to see something in a particular way in order to be able to do something? Not only dispositionally that one takes it, responds to it in a certain way, but as an occurrent experience. An occurrent experience. Wittgenstein suggests that that may indeed be so. For instance, in aesthetic contexts, or when following a geometrical demonstration. Demonstration. However, his remarks on this point are only tentative and suggest merely that aspect perception may help one's understanding, not that it is an absolute precondition. 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 Indeed. According to other remarks, what an experience of aspect perception is likely to manifest itself in is not so much new abilities as new dispositions. Dispositions. Yummy, yummy, yummy. That is, inclinations to react or comment in a certain way. In a certain way. What I expect from someone who sees a duck rabbit will be different from what I expect from someone who doesn't. He may, for example, find the beak too long, which is maybe. Unfortunately, Wittgenstein's intention to investigate the concept of aspect blindness is not really carried out. Ouch, ouch, ouch. In the remainder of the quoted remark, two hundred and 57, he notes that an aspect blind person would still be able to recognize similarities. Similarities. Then there follow only 3 more remarks on the topic. Topic. in, in which none of the questions raised are satisfactorily answered. Before Wittgenstein links it up with and moves back to the parallel issue of experiencing the meaning of a word. After that, there is no more mention of the topic of aspect perception. Aspect perception. Oh dear. In the remainder of this paper, I shall try to continue where Wittgenstein left off and investigate the concept of aspect blindness a little further. To see whether it can shed any more light on the phenomenon of experiencing a meaning. A meaning. Protophenomenon. Protophenomenon. Come here. 4. Aspect blindness. Emotional seeing as and the experience of meaning. Meaning. Could there be a generally aspect blind person? No. As suggested earlier, whenever something is seen and not only looked at inanely or absent-mindedly, some aspect of it must be noticed, but only certain shapes or colors. Of course, for any particular aspect of an object, it may be imagined that an onlooker fails to see it. But then, as long as it is to be granted that the person sees the object at all, there must be some other visual aspects of it that he does not see, that he does not see,
that he does notice.
that he does notice. Thus, if you fail to see the face in a puzzle picture, you see, say, only leaves, or perhaps some arabesque patterns. Arabesque patterns, inshallah, hulu. And if when looking at the bookcase, you do not see, see it three-dimensionally, you see it as an arrangement of different colored rectangles on a flat surface and can describe it as such. As such. Yeah. Welcome, Barkley. Wittgenstein seems to suggest a distinction between noticing a shape in a drawing and seeing the drawing as one that shape. From 257, is the aspect blind man supposed to not recognize the double cross, which can be seen as a white cross on black ground, or as a black cross on white ground, contains both a black and a white cross.
And white cross.
So if told, show me figures containing a black cross among these examples, will he be unable to manage it? No, he should be able to do that. But in that case, it is hard to deny that he can see the drawing as one of a black cross on white ground, or vice versa. Vice versa, indeed, vice versa. Again, someone may not be able to see a schematic drawing of a cube three-dimensionally as a cube, but only as two-dimensional geometrical drawing of a square and two rhomboids. Rhomboids. What a funny word. Rhomboids. But then such a person would hardly be able to observe the relevant resemblance between the drawing and a cube. A cube. For once he notices the resemblance, does he not ipso facto see the drawing as a drawing of a cube? Or again, if while looking at a dot dot dot, you bring to mind the resemblance between it and dot 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 dot. Do you not thereby see A as two pairs of two dots? It seems that at least in some cases, seeing an aspect consists in nothing more than noticing a certain resemblance. Family resemblance, for instance. Hence, it would appear inconsistent to suggest that somebody may be blind to that aspect and yet perfectly capable of noticing the resemblance in question. In question. It was noted that Wittgenstein is particularly interested in the episodic experience of aspect. Perhaps then, his idea is that the aspect blind person cannot see the lighting up of an aspect, even though he may be able to see aspects continuously. 257. The aspect blind man is supposed not to see the A aspects, that is, the two aspects of the double cross change. He will not be supposed to say, now it's a black cross on a white ground. On a white ground. For him, the schematic cube would not switch from one aspect to the other. To the other. To the other. It never changes. Poor aspect blind person. What can we do? However, elsewhere, Wittgenstein denies explicitly that it is merely blindness aspect change that he has in mind. Of course, it is imaginable that someone might never see a change of aspect, the three-dimensional aspect of every picture always remaining constant for him, but this assumption doesn't interest us. Moreover, that assumption too is problematic, given as Wittgenstein seems to allow the aspect blind person that one can be made to see first the black cross in the double cross figure, perhaps by being shown a straightforward black cross as an object of comparison, and later can be made to see the white cross. It is hard to imagine that once one has realized that the drawing consists of both a black cross and a white cross interlinking, one should not be able to switch from one to the other. It may be different with a more complex puzzle picture, where the aspects are not so easily located and conceptualized. A black cross and a white cross, and hence may be much more difficult to retrieve. Retrieve. And even if one doesn't experience a change of aspect while looking, remembering that one saw a different cross the last time would be enough to allow one to say, now it's a black cross.
No.
No cross.
No.
It would appear then, first, that the idea of general aspect blindness is inconsistent. Inconsistent.
Ouch, ouch.
Yes. Secondly, considering the example of the double cross, Wittgenstein's idea that blindness to certain aspects may be compatible with normal vision and intelligence, in particular with the capacity to spot the relevant resemblances, seems to be equally unworkable. Unworkable. At this point, however, it may be useful to distinguish between different kinds of visual aspects. For one thing, there is an obvious difference between pictorial aspects and others. Seeing as may be seeing something as a picture of something else. For example, as a drawing of a duck or of a cube. On the other hand, seeing a row of equidistant dots as grouped in a certain way, seeing a black cross on a white ground, or seeing something as a three-dimensional object, is not seeing what a picture represents. These are non-pictorial aspects. Non-pictorial aspects. Some of Wittgenstein's remarks suggest that he is particularly interested in pictorial aspects, and they are perhaps what we should focus on when trying to get a grip on the idea of aspect blindness. Aspect blindness. The aspect blind will have an altogether different relationship to pictures from ours. Oh dear, what can we do? Now we are really in the midst of everything. Oh. But it seems to me that the class of pictorial aspects needs to be further subdivided in order to make sense of some of Wittgenstein's ideas. The remark above relates back to Wittgenstein's claim that we view the photograph, the picture on our wall, as the very object, the man, the landscape, and so on, represented in it. That, however, is not applicable with equal plausibility to all pictures. A photograph of a loved one is a very different matter from a schematic drawing of a cube or a face. I see this as a face, but I do not relate it to it as to a real person. So we need to distinguish between schematic or very stylized drawings on the one hand and a fairly elaborate paintings and photographs on the other. Hence, we can now distinguish three classes of visual aspects. One, non-pictorial aspects. Two, schematic pictorial aspects. Three, elaborate pictorial aspects. With the first two classes, there is nothing more to seeing an aspect than recognizing a shape or arrangement, or noticing a resemblance. Hence, in such cases, Wittgenstein's suggestion that one might be able to see the relevant resemblances and yet be blind to the aspect is unconvincing. Oh dear. With elaborate pictorial aspects free, however, a more demanding concept of aspect perception gets a foothold. Here, it is indeed possible to notice the relevant resemblances without yet seeing the aspect, because aspect perception in this fuller sense requires also that the picture is experienced as transparent for a certain imaginative engagement with the object depicted. We view a portrait as a human being, just as we view an actor as Henry V and a mere stage cockpit as the vasty fields of France. The vasty fields of France. In such cases, it is easy to imagine somebody unable to adopt the required attitude. Attitude. Indeed, for most people, full absorption into the represented or fictional scene is only ever fairly brief. A picture is not always alive for me while I am seeing it. And a theater goer's experience of seeing Henry V, Shakespeare, is likely to be interrupted by thoughts about the quality of acting or salient features of the production, or indeed by the distracting noises made by a school class in the auditorium. Oh no! it seems certainly possible that someone may well understand the practice of dramatic representation on stage, notice the relevant similarities between the actors and the characters they are meant to impersonate, and yet not be able to enter into the game of make-believe.
Make believe, make believe, make believe.
Instead of seeing the people on stage as French and English soldiers in a combat, he only ever sees them as actors wearing historical costumes and imitating the motions of a battle. Such a person could be called aspect blind in a sense of the word that is not applicable to the cases of non-pictorial or schematic pictorial aspects. I think that's a good ending word because it's pretty unique, don't you think, Kalle?
Okay, yes.
It doesn't get any more unique than that. 369, 1953.
So, pictorial aspects.
This is indeed very close to Barbara Tversky. Barbara Tversky, I think. It's spelled with a
Okay, I can
singular V.
reference to our business scheme. Barbara. Have been in contact with her, as you know.
Yes, I remember. Barbara Tversky. She took a look into why body language is important and also the pictorial for higher understanding. And she showed the ability to see, for instance, a drawing as real or beyond the drawing is an absolute necessity for advanced or abstract thinking. And it's also connected to the movement of the hands. So the combination of moving your hands and understanding is the most important connection. The movement of the hands and the language processing are all in the motor cortex, the movement part of the brain. And she did this very interesting study where she had people figure out complex things, and they didn't know that they were filmed. And they start moving their hands as to understand the complexity of, for instance, an engine, how the pistons were moving down in the cylinders and the ventils were letting in air and gas to make the pistons go up and down in the engine. This is imagination, and the level of imagination, we call it imagination, but it's really reality sense. Seeing aspects, as seeing a drawing or a painting, as here, as something else, is incredibly important for sensing reality. The aspect blind will see the painting almost like Bartley suggested, like plots of colors or something like that, and would see maybe Henry V as an actor dressed to be a king of medieval England. This is actually most probably the case, and I think maybe someone else can confirm that, the case with people who are suffering from deficits in imagination. There is a state where you cannot see pictures in your inner eye, in your inner mind. It is called, I don't remember the name, Agna. Let me get back on that. It has a special name. It's the inability to have inner pictures. I say I usually don't like to go into the internet. No picture seeing. I'll do it for once. Is
Let me see the spelling.
I don't know how to spell. I don't know the word. I just remembered, and I was in contact with a guy. No inner seeing, maybe. They discovered it with an accountant. I don't know how to. Well, I get back with that. No, it's not connected to Barbara. They discovered just a couple of years ago. It was this bankman. He suffered a mild stroke, and after that, he lost his inner seeing, and he couldn't do his work. He could do some parts of his work, but some inventive and imaginative work he couldn't do anymore. So he failed to. If I say, picture yourself an apple, can you do that color? Yes. Literally, what is the color of the apple?
Red.
Yeah. So the people with this agnophobia, whatever it's called, or they don't see an apple, so they can't say what color it is. And they can't imagine faces, the faces of the deceased mother or a spouse that's absent and so on. This is clearly connected to this aspect, see, but also to deeper thinking. People who are very good at math see numbers not like abstract things. They have faces, they have colors, they have relations. It's like a whole theater with numbers for very good people. And they get very creative with this. But as in the case with autistic math geniuses, they can do all math that's already done by others, but they fail to do new math. And they seem not to be able to imagine things, or I would say, Barbara Tversky called to be real. It's a close connection to reality and this imaginative. It is not a fantasy. It's been proven because of quantum mechanics. To see beyond maybe what is put upon us because of we live in conformity. It's like we are all thinking the same today, saying the same. So what we call reality with a small r is nothing to do with reality. It is just how we all perceive. Maybe what you could call doxa. And that actually affects vision. So you see things that are not really there. You need this imaginative side of you to go beyond. And I think that is that. Wittgenstein was most the poet and the artist rather than somebody who wanted to depict some logical or relational thing that didn't make any sense. And here we also have the connection with family resemblance. To see in groups is very important. There are some people who not have that ability to group things. So they use the groups already established. For instance, mammals for a dolphin and a kangaroo is actually a mammal, whale and a rabbit and so on. But they cannot see new groupings, new family resemblance. And that is the important trait. That ability is the most important. So it could be that the school is teaching ready-made family resemblances and groupings, and that is detrimental to the ability to see reality. Reality seeing is actually group things all together. It's part of seeing as well as open your eyes is even more important than open your eyes, because a very skilled realism person can do it without looking. Also something that Barbara Tversky told. So the very idea that looking, seeing has something to do with opening one's eyes is also wrong. It's this naive idea that when we open our eyes, ready-made objects come into our eyes. No, nothing of the kind. Proven beyond doubt by quantum mechanics and so on. No, seeing is active. 3 times as much information goes from the eyes as to the eyes, as well as with hearing and sense. There is no dead outsideness that we can sort of observe and take in and digest. No, it does simply not work that way. The dots is maybe the simplest example of that. If you train yourself, you can see it as 2 groups of dots instead of 4 dots next to each other. And to do that is to realism, to see something real. I would also like to, I don't think this is an instance. I will add.
I will stop sharing.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you want to, yeah. I will just show a book here.
No, more to left or to right. There,
Yeah.
perfect. David McNeil,
McNeil.
thank you.
The former idea until recently in neurology even was that gestures are just a supplement to language and what we want to say. No, it showed that gestures are together with language. If you can't gesture, you don't have to show your gesture, but if you can't gesture, you can't do language as much. So gestures and language are together, just like Barbara Tversky indicated. If you can't gesticulate, it doesn't have to be visible, but it needs to engage the motor cortex, which is the movement area. And there is actually some movement in the neck and so forth. That's why the neck balance is so important for thinking. There's no thinking without it. I think this was a strange happenstance that this with gestures came up here. And it also shows why I mentioned earlier on, autistic people not be able to see gestures in others. When I say gestures, also gestures as me reaching for something or wanting to do something or going somewhere. It means that they can't see that in themselves. We have something called the mirror neurons. That would be an inability to read one's own thinking. The thinking is not inside, it's in the movement. So Kalle,
Yes.
or Mirja, please step in.
Okay, give me the, please give me the microphone.
Oh, yeah, the microphone.
Microphone.
Wait a second here. I put it here. Don't forget it.
Okay. 365. Let me first return to that what you said in the beginning, and it relates to David McNeil's book indirectly. Okay, so in the beginning you said that the moon. Einstein said that if I cannot see the moon, does it mean that it's not there? And we could compare Einstein with Saussure.
Oh yeah, well, yeah.
So in Saussure's case,
yeah.
we could say that the signifier, he spoke about the signifier, and we could compare the signifier with the pointy finger.
Yeah.
Voila, there is the moon. And but Saussure wanted to put this pointy finger within parentheses.
Oh yes.
Because it's devoid of meaning.
Yeah.
And also, and Einstein, he wanted to put the observer within parentheses.
Oh yeah.
The observer is, so to say, without meaning.
Yeah.
So we could say there is exactly the same tendency.
Yeah.
Saussure put himself in parentheses. Einstein put himself in the parentheses. They put themselves the observed within parentheses, devoid of meaning, and also the signifier equals the pointing finger within parentheses, devoid of meaning, is only the object, the signified, that has the meaning, that has meaning. But as we saw, for instance, from David McNeill, that's not the case. The gestures have meaning, and and I could actually here, I have the answer. 365, Wittgenstein's question here. Let me see, where was the question that he poses? There is a question there. No, it could be the next. No, it's actually the next page. He has, so he asks, experience. I lost it. No, experience. No, it's not this one. Missing. Let me see. The sentence with missing. Yes. Oh, this is very good. This is excellent. It's actually on 365. I had it was correct. So I found this great. It actually replies to this question. So the question is, what would somebody be missing if he did not experience the meaning of a word? Is Reader's, Wittgenstein's question. And I had the answer, the world.
Oh, yeah, very good. Yeah, definitely.
So we need only to add one little L to the word. What would somebody be missing if he did not experience the meaning of a word? The world.
Yeah, very good.
So we could say also about the moon, for instance. Moon could be only a word, but it's entangled with us, the world. So it is pointless of saying that. Is it there? Even if you don't see it, we could say it becomes like an empty concept for.
It is definitely empty.
For both Saussure and Einstein.
It's something we can't speak of and have no criterion for. We can't interact with it. There's no action.
And my old professor, Tommy Wasserman, he said that somebody asked him, one of the students, is not etymology important? No, Tommy Wasserman, no, it's not really important, the true because it's like the Swedish word grönsak, meaning vegetable. Grönsak is literally the green thing. The green thing is the Swedish word. So he says it's not really important because the green thing is not.
It doesn't surprise me when I studied linguistics. Most of the people there were half autistic, literally. And then had no idea what knowledge was. And my professor said, there's no knowledge to be gained here at the university. And that wasn't cynicism. He said it was a fun thing for him. He preferred representations to reality because that was the only food he could digest, so to speak. Of course, we were disappointed. I think like 80% of the group, they got like they lost something there of a hope. And I think that happens to most academics. You stop smiling after that. There is no learning anymore. And you go into that demise and you just keep repeating yourself. I actually met him a couple of months ago and he looks horrid. He's half dimension. And that happens to all of these people. It's just repetition every day. It's empty concepts. It doesn't mean anything. And this is, of course, neo-academia today. It's a doggies, without a doubt. The only thing they fear is the world and science. No, professor hated science, he said.
Now, in this case, the green thing would be devoid of meaning. According to this hypothesis, but it becomes more living, of course, if you can imagine different shades of green, so it's relevant. So the word is not empty of meaning, as Saussure would say. and my old teacher. And there is, I was inspired by this. Let me see this Wittgenstein's about the is the aspect blind man supposed not to recognize that the double cross, which can be seen as white cross or on black ground, or as a black cross on a white ground, that it contains both a black and white cross. And I was thinking about, let me see, take it from Revelation. Yeah, discuss this interlinear about the white horse. I think there is a we can take it. There was a nice thing. So the question is: the white horse, is it the rider on the white horse? Is it Christ or the Antichrist? And the scholars are divided. So half of them say is Christ. The other half says is Antichrist. And here I was thinking that if you change, so you have the white cross. Imagine on the white cross, or we could let's say it's the black cross. You have we can compare the bow with the black cross and the white crown to the white horse. So the question is, okay, you have the bow, it's like the black cross. And the white crown is like the white horse. And the question is, what is the rider then? On the white, so black is normally symbol for something bad. So the black cross is, you can look it, then the rider, it reflects his weapons or his, or it's the horse. So it's supposed the rider, is he reflecting more his horse, the whiteness, or is he reflecting more his weapon? That is the toxon, the bow. And then it's aspects there, like in this of this.
Indeed, that person, as you say, would only be able to see one or the other. It's either or, and he wouldn't be able to switch that instantaneous switch from one to the other, which is aspect seeing in a way. But they're both present. They're both there. Just he can't see it.
Yes.
It's a monosemic way of seeing, if you like.
Yeah.
That's my suggestion.
I would also slightly criticize Severin. I think some criticism is always healthy. You might not agree with me. So this is sure. It is on 368. I see this as a face, but I do not relate it to a real person.
No.
So Severin makes a dichotomy between this sign. I do not relate to a real person.
No.
So I already discussed it in the discussion in the beginning of this paper. That he makes this.
I think the point
is as if I would make this to a person, somebody asks me, how do you feel yourself? Then I make this face.
Yes.
Of course. So the other person would not know it's not referring to Kalle.
No. It'd be hard to recognize someone from such a stylized, maybe. Just maybe what he means. But if it was more complex or more like a drawing, you could say,
no, but image is only this, what you call it, the
smile only.
The smile only.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
perhaps
possibly.
I get this point, but I still we shouldn't see it's a harsh dichotomy. So
No.
Like the bird and world. But okay, let me, Mirja, do you want to say something?
No, I'm in the elevator, so I was long time in the bus. So thank you. This was super easy. Only to thank you.
Okay, let's talk about autism one of these days when you have the chance.
I love that you used Tversky this time. I was using her husband quite a lot, Amos, who made this theory with Kahneman. Yeah. So, but her work is also very, very helpful.
It's incredibly interesting, and Kalle was in main contact. We really looked into her quite closely about 2 years ago, something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
It's most interesting, and with the movement now, it's very close to language, movement and language. So it's might have started with a sort of movement that gave a sound, like song, and this is the start of language instead of the prevalent idea of language being depicting things and pointing to them and saying that's a table or that's a chair.
So this today was super rich. I was following you a lot in the second session, even with the distraction at the train and in the bus.
But we have it in recording. If you want to catch up with it later, it will be there on YouTube. Okay, Mirja, do take care. See you next time.
Yeah. See you. Thank you for today.
Thank you very much. Vidimo se. I'm gonna end the